Hey crafters! The end of May is here, and that means it is almost my birthday. I'm going to use my birthday as an excuse to tackle a sewing project that I've had in mind for a while, and I'm actually wearing the results right here, and I can't wait to show you this process. And I'm finally using some fabric that has been part of my life for a while. Yeah, my mom was cleaning out her house and she found some tablecloths that we used to use for my birthday parties. When I was a kid, we used to do birthday parties in the backyard, and we had these card tables. We'd set them out outside with, tablecloths and decorations and everything. Everybody would eat outside, the kids would have a great time, all the adults would sit around the tables chatting, and it was pretty awesome. My family came from all over, and yeah, it was a pretty special day. Turns out we don't have those tables anymore, and so my mom doesn't need these tablecloths, but she really liked the fabric. Wanted to know if I wanted to do something with it. Turns out I actually really like this fabric, and it seemed like the perfect time of year to use something that's been part of my birthday since a long time past and turn it into a birthday dress. Let me show you the pattern that I used. Let me show you the tablecloths in their original state, and you're kind of getting a sneak peek right here. Cute, right? Yeah, it's pretty fun. Let me dive in, let's show you the process and see what I made. Well, here you go, guys. Here is the pattern. Pretty cute stuff, right? Oh man. Pleated skirt, two different tops to this pinafore dress. Super cute. Very 1940s. Love this look. Looks super wearable too. I've had a hard time finding vintage pinafore patterns to try, and I was really excited to try this one because it is pretty wearable. I mean, the skirt has movement to it, so you can go about your day. You could easily put like a t-shirt or a blouse underneath. And yeah, it's cute without being like gigantically skirted, poofy ruffliness, I love that restraint that some of the 1940s stuff has. Hey, but I did actually try this pattern out. I did this weekend because I needed to know how this thing fit. I tried this one right here with the really simple pinafore front and back. I do want to try this one with the buttons soon, but I'm going to tackle that one a little bit later. This one's the one I was trying. So I did find some things that were a little bit off with this pattern. Well, for me, for my body. I realized that the waist and tummy area and thighs is actually really slim. And so for me, when I made this, I decided to increase the waistband and I increased the skirt quite a bit. I played around with it, and I think in the end, I think I need maybe like about 2 inches in the waist for more of a relaxed modern fit. If I was going for a more fitted 40s look, I wouldn't quite add that much, but just for, all of us who are used to more like elastic waists these days and pandemic pounds, yeah, a little extra in the waist is kind of nice. I think in future when I make this, I might make that waist a little bigger, maybe 2 inches. I could do a little less than that, but if I make it bigger, I could then add a sash of matching fabric to the waist, and I could cinch it in as much as I needed. So, I can still get that vintage look, but still have Taco Tuesday. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to increase the waist. I'm also going to increase the amount of skirt fabric because there isn't much give in this top of the skirt because the pleats are... the pleats open down here. The skirt fits pretty slim across the tummy and thighs here. So I'm going to add at least 2 inches to the skirt, maybe a little bit more, just to give me more of a modern fit, let me be able to do what I need to do. Also, this neckline is very, 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 very high. It's even higher than I think they show in this picture. I ended up cutting a much bigger scoop in the front and in the back. So those are some modifications that I've successfully tried with this pattern, and I think that's what I'm going to apply today as well. So let's just take a peek at this pattern. Whoa, look at their cutting instructions. They're like packing this fabric in, man. I mean, hey, this is, wartime. They're not wasting fabric at all. Pretty cool stuff. Oh, man. Sewing instructions. Yeah, they assume a lot more sewing knowledge and hand sewing and dedication than a lot of us do today. A lot more knowledge than many of us possess. But I have done a couple vintage patterns, and I feel like the more you do them, the more these instructions kind of become clear, or you find other ways that you could do the same processes. So don't let that scare you. Okay, so here are our directions today. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit for you guys. Hopefully that's all good. Okay, so they don't tell you that much, but it's enough. Obviously, we're going to be doing this type of bodice. It's a really simple, like Y shape of fabric in the front and back. And then both Pinafore variations use the same pleated skirt. And the skirt is actually made up of 8 panels total. And then there's some little pleats. And, pleating it at first kind of boggled my brain a little bit, but when I started doing it, it totally made sense. And it was really cute. However, since I'm using plaid fabric and those pleats aren't going to show all that much, and I'm feeling really lazy, I think I'm going to make yet again another change to this pattern while I'm doing this today. I think instead of having 8 panels of skirt fabric total, 4 in the front, 4 in the back, I think I'm going to make maybe like 2 big panels in the front and then 2 big panels in the back, and not pleat them as they would in the directions. Just this time. I will do the pleated version again, but I'm going to simplify. I think I also want to add to the width of the skirt a little bit and actually gather it into my waistband. So I'll have a little fullness, a little detailing to the skirt because of that, and I'll save those cool pleats for later. So gosh, what are we all changing? Let's see. We're going to make the neckline a little more scooped. We're going to increase the waistband by, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 inches. Going to increase the width of the skirt panel to make room for the thighs. And then, yeah. Oh, one other thing. I think I'm going to line the front and back pieces of the bodice. This is really cool. It's kind of hard to see. But they're suggesting that you could actually just finish the edges of the bodice with bias tape. Cool idea, right? Especially if you're using like a really thick like wool or corduroy or something. I'm using a much lighter fabric though, so I think I'm going to make 2 front pieces, 2 back pieces, stitch them together so that there's a lining. I may have to use more of a lining fabric for the inside if I don't have enough. Also, I think I'm probably going to make a belt to cinch in that waist to give me that more 40s look, even with the enlarged waistband. And gosh, I think that's most of my modifications planned. Let's take a look at the fabric and the pattern pieces and dive right in. Oh my gosh. Okay, here are my tablecloths, you guys. Check out this fabric. It's really cute. It's this like navy and white kind of seersucker-y material. I know there's a name for this stuff when it's plaid, but I can't remember what it is. So cute, right? With a little pink stripe. Okay, well, I got three tablecloths, and they're a little bit more than a yard square. So I technically need about 2.5 to 3 yards for this jumper. So this should be enough, which is really exciting. Oh gosh, I love this. This is so cute. Okay guys, I'm finagling fitting the combined pattern piece onto these little tablecloths, and you can tell I folded it in a very weird way. Yeah, it's gonna be a little wonky, but I think this will fit. I realized through trial and error that I can't just add width to the waistband and not carry it down all the way to the bottom of the skirt, because if I don't add the same amount all the way down the skirt, well, it throws off the whole pattern piece. Like, all of these pieces basically are like pie slices, and if you add width to this part but not to this part, it throws off the whole waistline, it throws off the hem, and it's all super weird. So I think I think this is gonna work. I'm gonna add about 1.5 inches all the way down. I've marked it with my purple pen. You can't really see it, but I'm gonna add all the way down to the bottom of the skirt and just enlarge each piece. I need 1/2 inch for that waist adjustment. Add that together, it'll equal about 2 inches. And then if I add that extra inch, I'm kind of hoping to be able to gather the skirt just a little bit, because it could be cute. Well, I think this is going to work. So fingers crossed. I'm going to keep on cutting. I am sort of kind of trying to line up the plaids a bit, but you can tell it's going to be a little wonky. We'll see. Doing our best. Hey, well, you guys, we've got all of our pieces cut out, and actually all of these pieces are, well, doubled. There should be 2 of each one. Yeah, okay, so we've got 2 of each of our skirt pieces. You can tell I started pinning what would be the center seam here in the front, and the center seam on the back panels together. Got to sew those up, and it will be a 4-panel skirt all together. And then, hey, we've got our front and back of the bodice. You can tell I really cut a scoop neck in this. The original pattern neckline was super high. I don't know how people were wearing it, but I scooped it. I think that'll allow me to wear more tops with this. So definitely scooped it most in the front, but I did actually make it bigger in the back. The perks to making the neckline bigger is I will be able to slip my head through it without having to do any fasteners on the bodice. So that's cool. Oh, and then of course I have 4 waistband pieces. And yeah, I think I'm going to jump in there and get sewing. I'm going to sew the skirt panels together, and then yeah, with our bodice pieces, I have pinned sides, neck, and sides. I'm gonna just leave the straps open and the bottom open, and I'll sew these 2 pieces together. Yeah, I got 2 pieces here. Sew these 2 pieces together, then turn them right sides out again, and I'll basically have a 2-piece front and a 2-piece back bodice, and that'll give me a little more structure to this top. All right, let's get sewing. Hey, well, we did some sewing. We got the 4 panels of the skirt sewn together. Hey, that's cool. I did leave a little bit of one side seam open because there's a little placket that gets made on the left side of the skirt so that you can open the skirt and put it on. And then, hey, we've got the front of the bodice and then the back of the bodice. Sewing those up. You could tell with this one I have turned it right sides out and ironed it. And here's what I started with. This is the back. Sewed up the sides, the neck, the other side. Left it open at the bottom and at the shoulders. And then I made some little snips just in this extra fabric around the curves so that these would lay a little flatter. Turn the whole thing right side out and pressed it. Okay, well, I think it's time to get my waistband pieces out and start attaching some things to the waistband. Hey, well, guys, we're checking out the front of the bodice and the back. And look, I've stitched them to 1/2 of the waistband. Here we go. Yep, just line these guys up. Right sides together. Did a little stitching. It's eventually going to look kind of like that. Now, I'm doing this a little different than the directions say. The directions use a bit more folding, ironing, some top stitching, and a little more hand sewing. So I'm going to use a method I learned from another pattern. I don't know if you guys remember, but my Pinafore apron from that 1940s pattern had some similarities. So I'm going to steal a method for sewing on the waistband and finishing all the raw edges in one fell swoop from that pattern. So now that I've got the bodices stitched on, I need to gather the skirt and pin that in here as well, and pin that on right sides together, and then I can show you how I'm going to finish that edge. We're on the right track. Hey, well, we're focusing on the skirt here for a minute. You can tell it looks a little different. Yeah, I forgot I'd wanted to add a pocket. So even though I had sewn the side seams closed, I opened them up again. Let's take a look. Now, this pattern does not include a pocket, so I used a pocket pattern from another pattern. And you can tell I've stitched those in to one side. We got right sides together here. So my next step is to, I'll pin these pockets together so they line up. They're already stitched to the sides of the skirt, but my next step will be to stitch around the pocket and up just a little bit, leaving kind of an opening like that so that I can close the pocket, but then I will have a place I can put my hand through. So that should work on that side. Onto this side, now this will be the left hand side of the skirt, and this side stays open for a little placket. The directions say just to make some strips of fabric. One's a little wider than the other. Stitching that little piece of fabric to one side. I've also finished the edges. That's going to be kind of the back of the opening. And then I kind of did something similar on this side too. I did stitch maybe like a 2-inch wide piece of fabric, and then I wrapped it around the other side and stitched that too. So now I've got a finished edge, and I've got a finished edge and a little extra fabric. And then when this gets some snaps and closures, this will be a nice little opening. Okay, so my next step on the skirt is to sew 2 rows of really big gathering stitches across the top so I can gather it a little bit into the waistband to make that work. So let's check that out. Okay, you guys, I've been working to attach the pieces of the bodice and the skirt to that waistband. Let's take a look at that. All right. So the bodice pieces and the skirt pieces all got stitched to the waistband, right sides together. And of course, this is the inside of the garment. You're looking at the outside. You know, you just have some nice finished edges. But hey, we want to have some nice finished edges on the inside too. So we're going to take our lining, and I'm going to experiment with a method I learned in my 1940s apron pattern that I used for the Pinafore that I made. Now that pattern took some time, but it was pretty awesome in hiding all raw edges in the finished product. So I'm going to diverge a little bit from this pattern here, which again uses more ironing and hand stitching and things. I'm going to try to cheat a little bit. Okay, so I need to stitch my lining in a way that's going to cover up all those raw edges if possible. Let's try pinning it on just to show you how it'll look when it's stitched. I'm kind of putting these pins in the wrong direction. That's okay. Pretend these pins are my eventual stitches here. Okay. So this is, sorry it's upside down, but this is, you know, the outside. This is the inside. And I'm going to stitch right along here. Cool. But then that'll let me flip it over to the inside. And I could iron the edge down and then tack it on the inside. Hey, that could work. Okay, let's get the camera a little more of a close-up here. Hang on a second. Okay, we're zoomed in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to be pinning my waistband lining right sides to the, this is actually the inside of the bodice. And I actually pin it like this all the way around. I'm going to fold the bodice of the garment to the inside. Pin this over all those raw edges. And then once I've sewn it, I can then, you know, iron down the edge a little bit so it's not raw. And then fold the whole thing over the other side of the waistband and do a little bit of hand stitching to stitch that down. And then once that's complete, all the edges on the back will be covered, and then it'll still look nice from the front as it had. Sounds complicated, but it's not too bad once I wrap my brain around it, which takes some time. So I'm going to do some pinning and some stitching, and I'll show you along the way how that works. Speaking of finishing edges, you might have noticed I've also kind of done my little zigzag stitch over the other raw edges just as I go to try to kind of sort of finish the seams a little bit. All right, time for pinning and sewing. Hey, well, you guys, progress is being made. Let's check it out. Okay, well, I have folded the lining of the waistband back over all those raw edges here on the inside. This is the inside of the garment. Folded those raw edges over, or sorry, folded the lining over, covering all those raw edges, pinning that in place. I'm going to just hand stitch that down, trying to not make my stitches show on the right side of the garment. So I got to do that by hand. And then, hey, I'm working on the shoulders. This is kind of exciting. Okay, normally in the pattern asks you to leave one shoulder not attached to the other, and they have you then make a little placket and then finish that shoulder with snaps so that you could get in and out of the garment. I have made the neckline much larger than originally planned, so I can actually get my head in there. And now I've been using a little trick that I learned from, yet again, another pattern for sewing the shoulders together in a way that is like easier and looks good and stuff. Let me come around to the other side here. Let me see if we can see this another way. Okay, so I've got my shoulders here. I pin them right sides together. I mean, here's the whole thing. Pinned them right sides together. And then I stitched the two inside pieces together. I just did it between the two seams here. So now my shoulder is like partially stitched together, but it's gonna be easy to kind of, you know, roll those edges under. It's going to be easy. It's not easy right now, but it's going to be easy. Roll those edges under and then hand stitch the other side closed, and the front is gonna look kind of nice and neat. See if I did that right. Yeah, there we go. It's coming, man. It's coming. Roll those raw edges under. Stitch it down. Yeah, and then we'll have shoulders. Whoa. Hey, and then we'll even have a waistband and a skirt and everything. Oh my word. Oh, I still have to hem the skirt, and I do need to sew some snaps on my little placket opening to the side as well. So got some more work to do, but we're really close. And hey, I'm gonna get started on that, and while I do, it's a great time for you to hit that like button to let me know if you found this video amusing, and of course subscribe for more fun, crazy, wild, I don't know, sewing projects and more from Partners in Craft. I'm gonna get sewing, and I'll show you guys what she looks like when it's done.